Okay, we'll get going here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Good morning to everyone. Again, it's always a pleasure to be in the midst and in the land of the living, considering a lot of things that's going on. We're so glad that everyone could be with us this morning. And as normal, I will read declaration from the governor. In accordance with Governor Ralph Northam's declaration of a state of emergency due to novel coronavirus, Executive Order 51 on March 12, 2020, and the local declaration of emergency ratified by the Portsmouth City Council and due to the coronavirus pandemic, which is continuing in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This meeting of the Portsmouth Economic Development Authority is being held by video conference on the 17th day of November 2020 without a quorum present in the 6th floor conference room in City Hall in order to reduce the likely spread of the coronavirus. Each EDA member is participating from their home. This meeting is being held in accordance with Portsmouth City Ordinance 2020-102. Notice of public access and participation to this electronic meeting was posted on the EDA and the city's website, and comments to the board about this meeting were received by EDA staff via the portreco@portsmouthva.gov email. With that, again, we look forward to expeditiously going through our agenda as normal. At this point, I'll call for roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Economic Development Authority, and welcome. I see, again, Mayor John Rowe has joined us as well as Councilwoman Simmons. I want to say thank you for joining us this morning. We'll start with a roll call vote. Mr. Barber.
Here.
Ms. Drury.
Present.
Mr. Kovacic.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Thank you. Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Smith. And Chairman Smith.
Yes.
Thank
Here.
you, sir. You have a quorum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll continue on with the agenda as printed with Mr. Moore
Thank you, Chair.
continuing.
Thank you, Chair. The first item up for business is the approval of the minutes from the November meeting. And that needs a motion and a second and then a discussion if you'd like.
I move for approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Saunders. Thank you, Mr. Barber. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Barber.
Aye.
Ms. Drury.
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Yes.
And Chairman Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is our financial update. I believe I saw Miss Patty Phillips has joined us, and I will turn it over to her for a financial update. Thank you. May be on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I think in your package, you've got some financial statements, a balance sheet, a statement, which we call the statement of net position, and the unaudited statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. And I'm just going to do a very high-level review. We at this point, plan to do more in-depth information once a quarter, and then monthly we can give you these basic information just because of the staffing situation. But and because there's not a lot of activity at this point. Pooled cash, or rather cash and temporary investments, $962,102. And you've got a lease income receivable. And another high level, land worth $1.2 million. Property held for resale at $21 million, which includes your most recent acquisition. And then you have a revenue note on the liability side of $5,217,000, and also assumption of the debt on your new properties of $1,743,544. Net position has increased to a total of $16,616,841, an increase of approximately $4.7 million from June 30. On the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance, we have no operating revenue year to date. You can see the expenditures, most of which are closing costs and so forth on the expenditure side associated with the property acquisition. So operating expenses of $160, and making a loss of the same amount. And then non-operating revenues and expenses, most of it is revenue. We've got contribution of the value of the land contributed by Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing of $3,128,966. So a change in net position, just kind of summarizing, of approximately $3 million in October. So that's it. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank Ms. Phillips and the staff for giving me a pretty thorough review of the financials after last month's meeting. And one item that came up as a suggestion, and I'd like to pass it on to the members of the board, is that we've got a lot of properties that are in process of being sold, and I think it would be helpful. It would be helpful to me and maybe to the other members of the board if we had sort of a review from staff as to the status of the sale of those properties and sort of an anticipated time frame for the disposal of them and what the revenues might generate from the sales. The sale of the property is very important in terms of our business model and sort of looking forward as to what is in the pipeline and what the revenues might be. I think would be helpful to me, and I don't know whether it would be helpful to others.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. I think it would most definitely be helpful to all of us, and I would request that the Mr. Moore would to get that together for us, unless there's any objections to that from members. Hearing none, we will expect, and Mr. Moore, Robert, you can tell us when you can make that happen. You and Mr. Donahue, thank you.
Yes, sir. We will get to work on that. We think that is a great suggestion. That way we can keep you abreast of, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for deals to get done and to get to closings and things of that nature. So want to certainly remind you of what you have coming in the pipeline from a project standpoint, but also what you have coming in the pipeline from a revenue standpoint, so we can keep building on that. So we will certainly work towards that for January to see if we have a comprehensive list and breakdown of when we anticipate things coming to fruition for the new year.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question. How are those properties advertised? Are they on a site if someone was interested in some of our properties?
So right now, the properties are pretty much your properties are under contract in some way, shape, or form. You have very few properties. The new properties that you will just acquire from the GPDC are the only properties that you have currently left to sell. We will talk about some of those properties a little bit later in the morning, but they are listed on CoStar, which is the industry standard when it comes to commercial real estate. As well, they are on our website, as well as other areas. Certainly, we sprinkle these on social media as well. So we are having a comprehensive marketing plan with regards to disposal of these properties. But again, the majority of your properties are under contract in some way, shape, or form. All right. Any additional questions? Ms. Phillips, thank you for that update. I do see that Ms. Barbara Smith has joined us. So good morning, Ms. Smith. Again, typically with your financials, we just send those to audit. So if everyone is comfortable with that, we would move forward. All right. Next item on the agenda is old business. First item up is an update on the COVID-19 recovery grant program. Typically, I would have Mr. Donahue give this update, but I will give the update this morning because this is really a thank you from myself to staff, to the EDA, and City Council. It was City Council's vision and wisdom to be able to provide these that CARES Act money to our local businesses to assist them through the COVID pandemic. You will recall that council back in July appropriated $1 million to the EDA. I am happy to report that at the end of the program, our office has given out, with your assistance, $957,399.73 in COVID grants. That assisted 100 companies. Average award was $9,574. You can see the breakdown there. You have also received in your packet a listing of all the information regarding which companies throughout the city received that funding and how much each company received, the type of business, and so forth. I really want to say thank you to the staff that worked on this, more specifically, Mr. Brian Donahue, Mr. Armand Smith, and Ms. Jessica Biedenbaugh. They worked very hard. The first application you will see in your paperwork came in July 24th. The last application literally came in, I believe, at 5:06 p.m. on the 31st of October. So in the span of 3 months, your economic development staff put out, again, almost $1 million in grants to assist businesses in Portsmouth. We're very excited about that, very happy that we could do that. And again, want to say thank you to City Council and to the EDA for giving us that opportunity. I stand for any question.
Let me say this, Robert, before we hear from others. Again, thank you and staff for the fantastic job you did. And let me back up to a minute and welcome Mayor John Rowe and our regular Councilman Elizabeth Simmons. And considering this will be her last meeting with us, and we'll give her an opportunity before she leaves. And if you have to leave, earlier, just let us know, and we'll interrupt so you can give us a parting words of wisdom and a parting shot of whatever. So thank you again, staff, for this. This is fantastic. This is awesome. No way else to put it. So with that being said, I'll yield to other commissioners if they have any comments or questions.
Mr. Chairman, we just an amen for what you said. I think that's administering that grant program is a Herculean task, and the staff did a wonderful job.
Yes, thank you to all, and also for putting this information together. I mean, it's really wonderful to be able to see it like this and see the different demographics here.
Thank you. All right. Chair, if there are none, we'll move forward in no more questions or comments, we'll move forward in the agenda.
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Next item of old business is just a reminder about the FOIA training. Again, I believe Ms. Angela Shepard in our office has sent out a reminder as well as the link for to watch the video. If you'd prefer to watch the video as opposed to going through the website in the process. Several of you have let us know that you have completed the training in one way or the other. Just keep in mind, anyone that has not needs to complete that training by December 31st, including myself. So we will make sure we get that done, but we wanted to make sure you had the tools to get it done. Again, just let us know once you've completed that so we can pass that on to Ms. Deborah White. All right. Next item is new business. First up is a local incentive program update, and we do have a few applications this morning. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Brian Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, Mayor Rowe, and City Council members, Ms. Simmons, and I believe Councilman Moody is on the call as well this morning. Would like to give you an update on the local incentive program to let you know where we are year to date. Of course, on the slide, you will see the last historical reporting for the last 5 years. For FY21, we've made some good progress, I think, since your last meeting in receiving and processing applications for the $300,000 that the EDA allocated for FY21. We have actually to date awarded $179,000 in funds as of last month. So you will see that we have a balance currently available in the program of $120,679. That does not include the applications that you have before you for consideration this morning and any others that we have in the pipeline. We do anticipate that we will exhaust funding the next couple of months. We have a number of applications. In fact, the requests that we have received exceed the $300,000 allocation for the fiscal year, which is encouraging given the fact that we were unable to expend all of the monies allocated last year, largely due to COVID. So I think that's an encouraging thing to see, that we have a number of new businesses and businesses that are reinvesting in their facilities going forward. If we could go to the next slide, please. This is a listing of the applications that have been approved and awarded to date as of last month. So just to kind of recap where we are as of today. Unless you have any questions, we're going to move forward with the applications that we have for you to consider this morning. Mr. Armand Smith is going to present the first applicant, and then I will have a second applicant to present to you this morning as well.
Can I interrupt? Can I interrupt 1 minute, Brian, before we move to the present applicants? Just a question as to you mentioned the fact that you have applications that exceed what we have left. Is there any plan or thought about addressing those, or will that just be cut off, or do we have to take some kind of action? I guess we probably need to know how much over that could be. Is that something that y'all can provide?
We can. They are still under review, so we are processing them. We anticipate that it will, exceed the $300,000 allocation. And what we're also working on is the applications that have been awarded. In some instances, they will come in under the projected amount, so we will potentially have some leftover funds that may be able to go towards those applications under review. But certainly, if there is a need, we can make you aware of that. if there's a desire on your part to address those applications through additional funding being provided.
Thank you. I would say, in my opinion, others can speak to that too. That if it's not an exorbitant amount, that if it's just over a tad bit, we would try to, get those completed. Just my thoughts. I know we don't want to stick another 100 grand onto it, but going over, a small percentage, I don't think would kill us.
We can certainly let you know as soon as we finish processing the applications where we stand.
Okay. The silence means to move on.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question though, based on that? I'm sorry. So the money that wasn't spent in fiscal year 20, which obviously was a lot because of COVID. So what happens to that money each year?
So keep in mind that this money, this is not an appropriation that is received from council or anything like that. This is money that comes directly out of your bank account. So typically what happens is at the end of the fiscal year, or when you all do your budget, you just decide, again, next year we will do $300,000. That money, any money that is not spent, just does not come out of your bank account. So it's not a rolling situation. It just stays at that point in your bank account. Certainly you have the opportunity, as the chairman stated, to make some adjustments on that, and that would take some amendments to the budget on what you could certainly do. But again, every year for, I don't know how long at this point, at least 8 years, you all have appropriated in some way, shape, or form $300,000 for the program. This is a great time. I know we've had discussions with Mr. Barber and Mr. Mitchell with regards to potential changes to the program. We have some potential ideas and thoughts about changes to the program. So while we address those applications that we have in hand, I think certainly as we get towards producing another budget, it's certainly time to talk about any changes or any thoughts about what we should do with the program. So.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robert. We can move on.
All right, Mr. Smith.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore and Mr. Donahue and Chair, Vice Chair, Councilwoman Simmons, Councilman Moody, and Mayor John Rowe. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you. We have 2 local incentive program grants for 5905 Portsmouth Boulevard. I'll go through both of them and then we'll vote on them separately. The first is for a facade improvement grant. So they're seeking a grant in the amount of $25,000 for parking lot improvements. So the parking lot improvements would be $93,755. This is for, in Boys and Girls Club of Southeast Virginia, what they're doing is they're consolidating their youth programs in Portsmouth. So before they were in 3 elementary schools utilizing the Portsmouth public schools and their partnership they have with them, but they were able to buy a building. They paid $850,000 to consolidate their operations in the old Girls Inc. building on Portsmouth Boulevard. Some additional work that they're doing, this is part of a larger renovation project, part of a $934,000 renovation project. They're seeking funding for the parking lot, but they're also doing some exterior painting, doing some lighting, some signage, and some roofing work as well on the exterior. These are a few photos of what they're doing, highlighting the parking lot, which they're seeking to get the improvements for. Also important to note that hardscape improvements, which include parking lots, are eligible under the EDA program. We do have some precedent for providing funding for those improvements. The last photo is a rendering as well, showing the updated parking lot and then showing the additional facade improvement work that they're doing. So I stand by for any questions on this facade improvement grant application.
And anyone that's been past there, they can see that they've already begun well down the road on completing this. So and it looks very good already.
Absolutely, Chair. Thanks for bringing that up as well. The work, just for the other EDA commissioners, the work that they're doing or seeking the grant for, they have not started yet. So obviously they've started a lot of work because there's a lot to get done, but the work that which is in the guidelines of your program, the work that they're seeking the grant funding for, they have not started yet. If there's no questions, I'll move forth and talk about the interior build out grant application. Again, Boys and Girls Club of Southeast Virginia is seeking $25,000 for the program. They're seeking the funding for flooring improvements. So their flooring costs are going to be $79,872. Again, this is part of a larger renovation project. It's about $934,000. Some of the other interior work that they're doing they're doing lighting, plumbing, really a complete kind of build out, complete kind of gut of the property. So lighting, plumbing, they're doing ceiling installation, framing and drywall, bathroom replacements and painting, also doing some HVAC work as well. So again, this is for the consolidation of facilities in Portsmouth. So we think it's a great project. Staff recommends approval for both applications, both the facade and the interior build out grant application. And I stand by for any questions.
I don't have
Mr.
a
Smith,
question,
this is
but I
Malcolm.
just-
Can you just let us know what the maximum amount a business can receive funding?
Yes, sir. So for the interior build out grant and the facade improvement grant, they can both get $25,000 for each of those programs. So you can get $50,000 between both of those programs. That's the maximum grant award we can award.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, just a comment that I'm excited that they are reinvesting into the property and the project. It's a wonderful organization. As we know, they've been around for a long time. And I'm happy that we're able to assist them in getting these renovations completed.
Mr. Chairman, I had an opportunity to talk with Mr. Donahue yesterday about the applications. I don't have any objection to the applications, and I agree that they're a very important asset to the community and provide tremendous services. And my issues, I think, are similar to Mr. Mitchell's, is that this is a facade improvement grant application, but one of them is anyway, and the improvements that are being proposed are basically just parking lot improvements and draining improvements outside. And it just raised the question to me as to what we have on our website in our program, and whether that we could be more clear and more definitive as to the what is eligible, and how can we streamline the program to be more effective there. Similarly, the review of the applications indicated that about project areas, and we're eligible, and we are serve the whole city now in terms of the program. I would reinforce the notion that Mr. Moore had said, that we take a look at possibility of combining the two into a single application, and be a little bit more clear as to the who's eligible and what the terms of eligibility are from an organizational standpoint. Our website does not indicate that nonprofits are eligible, and which nonprofits are eligible and under what conditions, as an example. But again, I just raised those as things I think we should look at prior to the next fiscal year in establishing the local improvement program. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. And Robert, you can refresh our memory. There is a plan afoot to look at our program and revamp it or revise it. So all of that will be in line with what we could do in the future. Robert, you want to?
Yes, sir. There is a plan to sit down Typically, we do it right before we, or as we start to put together the budget. But I would suggest that not necessarily at this meeting, but you could at your January meeting set up a committee to sit down to have a discussion. A committee made up of 2 commissioners along with staff to sit down and review the applications and review again what the program entails and the intent of the program. Again, make any suggestions, and then we can bring those suggestions back to the board for a vote. But I certainly would have that discussion in January. Maybe set up the committee, and then let us have that discussion in February and March.
Okay, thank you very much. And what I'll do, we'll have some recommendations ready for the next meeting. I'll reach out and I'll come back with recommendations, for that committee. As far as the individuals that will, be on the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to make sure I did hear that correctly, and that for this particular application, we do have some prerequisite of having done this type of improvement in the past with the funds. Is that correct?
Yes,
Correct.
that's correct. Yes. Yeah, I think Mr. Barber wants to just take a different approach and make it better and clear, more definitive. So we should be okay for these applications.
All right, with that, Chair, we'd like to have, again, separately, approvals. So a motion and a second, and then you can have a discussion on the vote. We'd like to start with the facade improvement grant for 5905 Portsmouth Boulevard. I need a motion and a second.
I move for approval of this grant.
Thank you, Ms. Saunders Smith.
I second.
Yeah. Either one.
Ms. Drury, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Barbara Smith,
Yes.
and Chairman Smith.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. The same holds true for the interior build out grant for 5905 Portsmouth Boulevard. Just need a motion and a second.
I move that we approve the grant.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Barbara Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. We do have 2 more applications, both for the same property. Mr. Brian Donahue.
Thank you, Robert. The final applications before you this morning are from a company by the name of Kwood LLC, which is located at 505 Airline Boulevard. They're currently operating as Pelican Snowball, as you may be familiar with their business. It is going through a re-franchising as we speak, so we'll be reopening very soon as Polar Snowballs. So not a major change there, but they do have some changes to the property that will also be occurring with that re-franchise. The first application is a facade improvement grant. Kwood is proposing to make some modifications outside of the property to expand their outdoor dining area. As you can imagine, with the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses such as this that do have outdoor dining as an option have experienced some growth opportunities, and they're looking to take advantage of that. So they will be expanding their outdoor deck to accommodate additional seating. And then they're going to be going through a kind of a rebrand as part of the re-franchising. So they will be painting the exterior of the property, changing their signage, adding some lighting, and making some minimal parking improvements. as well. The total cost proposed for the exterior work is $11,845. So they are requesting 50% of that through the Facade Improvement Grant Program. And with a contingency allowance, the grant award would be $6,810.88. So really looking to support them in their efforts. We do think it's certainly a business that draws a lot of traffic in the warmer months, and they're very anxious to get moving on their overhaul during the downtime this winter. So if we don't have any questions, I can move on to the interior build-out application before you consider the applications together. Next slide.
Excuse me, did they submit any renderings of what it would look like?
The slide that is on the screen now is a layout. It shows the expansion of the deck area. I believe it's about 120 square feet. So this is the floor plan for the restaurant.
So I think they're not doing a complete change or renovation. They just doing some outside decoration in addition to for outdoor seating. Is that correct, Brian?
That is correct. It's really painting the building, changing their sign, and then expanding their outdoor dining, their deck area. So fairly, in comparison to your last application, somewhat minimal improvements to the property.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Moody. Welcome, Councilman Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What are the total number of employees employed there? And also, do we know what their annual sales are?
Brian, you want to take that one?
That's a good question. We do not, as part of the application process, track their revenue there at the business. In terms of employees, Mr. Underwood, the owner, and his daughter are primarily the full-time employees. They do have seasonal part-time employees, and they range anywhere from 3 to 5.
You know, in future applications, we may want to revisit seasonal businesses. Obviously, they tend not to employ as many as a full-time business, nor do they generate the tax revenue.
Yes, sir. We can look at that. We will make sure we take that into consideration as we have the discussion about all the program going forward.
Thank you.
Can I ask Councilman Moody a question? So are you kind of getting that eligibility?
Beg your pardon, Mr. Chairman?
I was asking what direction, what was your intent? Are you make a reference to eligibility for the grants?
Yeah, yes, but for the future, I think when you're talking about seasonal businesses, they're certainly normally don't generate revenue compared to a full-time business, nor do they normally hire the number of employees. And I just think we need to revisit that in the future application process.
Okay, let us. We will make note of that, Robert, and when this committee convenes, that's something that they can research and look at it for us and bring it back to us, and maybe they can also touch base again with Councilman Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just as a point of order, we can't have 3 council members participate in the meeting, or it becomes an unadvertised council meeting. So I think we'll need someone to drop off and simply observe.
I will voluntarily do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We still will, take that under advisement, and Robert, you can move on. We're ready to move.
Okay, if we can go to the next slide, please. We have a second application for interior build-out grant assistance from Kaywood LLC. They are looking again to do some work on the interior of the property, primarily with regards to their flooring being replaced, lighting replacement. They have a drop ceiling which is in need of some repair and replacement as well, which would include the replacement of HVAC vents and returns inside of the property. If we can go to the next slide, I believe we do have a floor plan that identifies where the work will be occurring. There we go. So this here where you see highlighted in red is really their kitchen area, and they're making some changes and modifications there to aid in their operation. I believe some of the flooring has some significant repairs that needs to be undertaken. This is a leased property, so as the tenant, they are responsible for making those improvements. And it is an older building, so they do have some significant work that needs to be done. In terms of their total cost for the project inside, $10,665 is what the proposal value totals. So they are looking at a $6,132.38 request for funding, which is 50% of the cost plus a 15% contingency that is allowed under the program. I can answer any other questions you may have on their interior build-out grant application. And hearing none, I do believe we can vote separately on either if you wish.
All right, so hearing none, we'd like to have a motion and a second for the facade improvement grant for 505 Airline Boulevard.
So moved.
Mr. Barber? We have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Kovacic. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Barber?
Aye.
Ms. Drury?
Aye.
Mr. Kovacic?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Barber Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Motion carries. Next would be the interior build-out grant for the same location, 505 Airline Boulevard. Just need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. And second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kovacic. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Barber?
Aye.
Ms. Drury?
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Barber Smith?
Yes.
And Chairman Smith?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. Those are all of the items for open session and new business. Let me, before we go into closed session, we do have a need to go into closed session. Let me say thank you to staff. Again, if as in listening to Mr. Donahue, and then from what I reported earlier this morning, your economic development staff has in some way, shape, or form put out almost $1.2 million in grants. They have worked very hard to make sure that this money and these monies have been dispersed. We're very excited again what they can do moving forward. We're also excited about the opportunity to have a discussion about the program and what you all provide. So that way going forward, we can certainly be more effective in making sure that how monies are spent and how that reinvestment is done throughout our city. So again, I want to say thank you to staff. I want to say thank you to the EDA and certainly the members of City Council that are on the call this morning. With that, again, we do have a need to go into closed session. And I believe,
Mr. Chair, if I may interrupt for a second.
I think Mr. Chair is frozen, Mayor. I'll go on a limb and say I think you can interrupt.
All right. I did not realize that Councilman Moody was participating, and I was about to drop out. And but I'm not going to go into closed session because I'm not one of the liaisons. But I did want to tell the board this. Sincerely appreciate everything that the Economic Development Authority does. Your volunteers, and our scarcest resource is our time, not our money. And the fact that you volunteer your scarcest resource for the betterment of our community is just awesome. The second thing is that I started off in local government working for the Norfolk City Manager in June of 1971. And I have worked in just about every region of the state. And without any qualifications at all, Robert Moore is the best economic development director that I've ever had the pleasure of either working with or seeing. And I've seen an awful lot. He is so energized and so professional and so focused. And the fact that he's put together a dream team is just incredible. And Portsmouth is very fortunate to have Robert as our economic development leader. And we're blessed, and we're blessed to have you. And so thank you to Robert and his team, and thank you especially to the volunteer board. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. And with that, Mr. Chair, with your permission, I'll drop out.
Well, thank you again for being here, and we're thankful for all you've done yourself since being mayor. Thank you.
You're kind. Thank you, sir. Bye.
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 All right,
Okay.
well, thank you for those words, Mayor. Mr. Mitchell, I believe, did receive the
Yes.
motion for closed session.
Okay, here we go. I move to go into a closed electronic meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711, A.3, and 2.2-3708.2, A.3, and City Council Ordinance 2020-102 for the purpose of discussing the disposition of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding 1021 High Street, 1107 High Street, 2 Crawford Parkway, 8 Crawford Parkway, 2 Harbor Court, and 3 Harbor Court.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. We will need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Novacek,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Barbara Smith,
Yes.
and Chairman Smith. Chairman Smith?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we are in closed session. So you need to leave out of open.
Yes.
to
Yes.
the- And then we'll see you in about 2 minutes. Chair, it would appear we have everyone here. And if Mr. Mitchell could read us back in the open session.
Okay. I hereby move that each commissioner certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. I need a second.
Second.
All right, I'll give that to Ms. Sandra Smith. Excuse me one moment. I apologize. I had a buzzer going off. Wanted to make sure that stopped. Roll call vote, Mr. or any discussion? Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Ms. Drury,
Yes.
Mr. Kovacic,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders,
Yes.
Barbara Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We are back in open session. We do not have anything to vote on from closed session. That was all discussion. We do have two things that we'd like to do very quickly. First, wanted to echo the sentiments of the chair, Councilwoman Simmons. This is your final meeting with us as far as an EDA liaison. Would love to give you the opportunity to have the floor if you'd like, and say a few words at your last meeting.
Thank you, Robert, and to each of you, it really has been a pleasure. This has been one of the best EDA boards I've worked with over the years, and I will tell you that my EDA and PPIC liaison appointments have been the most coveted on council and the most fun for me, honestly, because it's put me in the forefront of development activities, which is always kind of fun to be on the inside track. And you've got such great things ahead of you between the entertainment district and other properties you own that are on the cusp of development. You know, you've done a lot, but you've still got a lot more ahead of you that's going to start coming out of the ground, and it's just an exciting time. And I wish you all well, and thank you for having me these Tuesday mornings. And I don't know what I'm going to do with my Tuesday mornings and my Tuesday nights, but I'm sure I'll find something to do. I hope the travel business will pick up, and maybe I'll be off in Europe somewhere or something as between COVID and travel settles out a little bit. But maybe I'll move into one of your new places one day. So it's an exciting time, and Robert and Brian and all of you, your staff has been great, and a great neighbors as well. I think most of you know my office has been across the hall from the Economic Development Authority for the last year, and I am actually moving my office today in a little while to my home later this week to start out the first of the year in a smaller office. And as COVID has taken its toll on everybody, I'm going to try to save a little money and make more money. How about that? Try to do my own economic development. So I thank you all and wish you well, and happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. So let me also say on a final note, thank you on behalf to all of you, on behalf of economic development staff. We've had a year. Let me be clear. Between COVID, between economic grants, whether they be for facade and interior build out, for the COVID grants, you all have made a significant impact this year. If it wasn't for this group, we wouldn't have in council, we wouldn't have the entertainment district. We wouldn't have a lot of these large developments that we've got going on. And let me tell you, those impacts again have been phenomenal. What I want to share with you this morning is our year-end update. We go by calendar year. When we start talking about investment, we talk about new projects, new things in the city. Typically by this time we would have our holiday open house. We would announce it at the holiday open house. Certainly COVID has not allowed us to have that. We weren't able to do that this year. But that's kind of want to put in perspective before Ms. Beatenbaugh puts the slide up, kind of where we've been. Over the last, let me say 4 years that I've been here, we've made significant strides. And I'm going to always say that this is the best economic development team you can ever have, a director could ever have. Back in 2016, your new investment was $8 million. 2017 was 44. We added Mr. Donahue and Mr. Smith, and we jumped up to 104. We added Ms. Beatenbaugh, and we jumped up to 379. Now, I say it that way so they can claim this on their resume and everybody looks good. We added 2 more folks. We lost a key member of our team, Miss Lee Ogilvy, to retirement. So she thinks paperwork hasn't gone through yet, but we added 2 more individuals, 3 really, Miss Pamela Kroom and Miss Jenny Osborne, and added Miss Angela Shepard to assist me and the rest of the staff. Last year, again, we did $379 million, okay? I am proud to announce that this year, Ms. Beatenbaugh, if you can go to the next slide. We went from $379 million and we affected again about 1,800 new and impacted jobs last year. That was 2019. 2020, we have gone to $435 million and over 1,900 new jobs. We could not have done that without the EDA, without City Council. Let me put it in perspective for you. This on the right side of your screen, we look at 3 things when we put these numbers together. We look at direct economic development projects that we have worked. And last year that was $213 million. We looked at reinvestment, and that reinvestment number is high, but that's based off the number of permits in things that people have reinvested back into their project, back into their businesses. Then we've got the value add from commercial sales as well, which is at $23 million. To put it in perspective, again, did $213 million in new investment last year. This year alone, this office did $391 million just in new economic development projects. That's a significant jump. The permits were down, again, it's COVID. And some of those sales kind of sort of where they were last year, a little off, but again, COVID. But let me be clear, this is the 3rd triple-digit year. This is the 3rd record-setting year in a row. And when you take those numbers and put them together, your economic development team, for all intents and purposes, has done almost $1 billion in new investment in the last 3 years. For Portsmouth, that's big time. That's a very big doing. And again, want to thank you, want to thank certainly City Council, Councilwoman Simmons representing council, but I specifically want to thank staff. A lot of hard work went into getting $435 million invested in our city. And again, over 1,900 jobs, actually 1,922 new jobs to be exact. The other jobs were jobs that were saved because we expanded, things of that nature. But you all should be proud of yourselves. And again, I wholeheartedly say thank you for what you have done and what you've done to assist us. To show our appreciation, we do have a small token of our appreciation for you all at our office. So if you could stop by at some point and come pick those up, our office will be open until I think the city closes on the 24th. So you can stop by at any time to come pick those up. But we sincerely want to say thank you to you all for everything you do for us. From, again, the entertainment district, to Fairlead, to community health center, you name it. And now pending projects we've got going on. Again, want to say thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other passing, parting comments before we conclude from anyone?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just one, commend the staff and commend the EDA and the tremendous team they had for what a significant accomplishment this year. I'd also just like to say that as has been mentioned several times in this meeting, we're getting at a point where our inventory of properties is dwindling down. And one of the key points that came out of our strategic planning was to sort of look at potential acquisition strategies moving forward next year. And I would like to suggest that we put that sort of on our agenda beginning of the first of the year, so that we can actively begin, strategizing about what kind of acquisitions and where within the city we'd like to make some investments, so that we can continue the momentum that has been going on for the last number of years into the future.
Yes, sir. We're already spending your money, trust me.
Yeah, I think it's probably still quite a bit of real estate in the city, whether or not there's large mega projects. I mean, mega acreage, probably not, but still some in some significant places that could benefit us in the city. So I agree. We definitely need to start planning for that since our inventory is getting low. So it's very important. I mean, then what else would we do if we don't have any inventory? So, but again, thanks everyone, for their, well, let me, one more time, anyone else?
Just happy holidays to all of you, and to Councilman Simmons. You're certainly going to be missed on this committee. You've brought a wealth of information, and I certainly share the kudos to our Economic Development Director and staff.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, to one more time to Councilwoman Simmons, and we certainly don't know with the new council coming in who our next liaisons will be, but hopefully we can still have some experience there. Mr. Moody will still be around, so maybe he can come back with the addition of another person, but it's very, very critical, the council's roles and what we do, and for your input, and we've appreciated yours all in many years that you and I go back, and we've worked together on so many different kinds of things and varying things, and from the years when 2004 you, I, and Steve were the freshmen on the city council, and I've learned so much, not only from you and from other council members that I've worked with over the years, and still continue to work with behind the scenes. So we're grateful, and we of course wish you the best. And I will say too, I've benefited from her travel service also a few times. So so. So we're very grateful, and we wish you the best. And then to Robert, just you can send my check in the mail. I don't need to drop by to get the gift.
Yeah, so you can rip this open, and you're not going to lose any money. Let me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, only kidding, just so to be very clear, to anybody else happen to be listening, about the check.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
but again, but again, thanks to all my fellow board members who've given, have been, laying their confidence in me to lead, and I will try to continue to do my best to help cushion and to make sure that you aren't too devastated. I talk a lot about past experience, and because I don't want anyone to be hurt or anyone to be totally devastated when things, kind of catch us off guard or hit us, off guard. So that's why I tend to, share past experiences and information. But as I always say, it's up to us, and the sky's the limit. Whatever we do, and we're going to always continue to have those discussions, regardless of what happened in the past, because I think we can make a difference and we can make it better, and we can try in any way we can. We know we've done our part as citizens, and that's who we are here representing, the citizens, not the this city council, even though they put us here, but we definitely represent the citizens, and so we need to take every opportunity to talk to them and to find out what they think and what they want also. The problem, one of the biggest problems is the word, and I know Robert and his staff do a tremendous job in getting the word out there, but you can't make folks read, you can't make folks listen, you can't make folks watch what's going on in activity, because if you hear the sentiment around, I had a long discussion with a person that just blew their minds, and this is a person supposed to be in the know in the African American community about the things that's been going on and the things that's coming, and they didn't have a clue, and they felt like they were in the know. So what we do to talk to our fellow citizens and to others that we come into contact with makes a big difference and makes Robert's job a little easier. So we need to spread as much as we can this information about the accomplishments, what we do, because the regular citizens don't know. They haven't tried, to, and I'm not going to say they're, disinterested, but I'm saying they just got their priorities, their own priorities, and they just operate off those. So, but we need to make sure that we do what we need to as members. So again, I thank everyone, and I pray and that everyone will have a blessed holiday, and that when we see each other again in January, that we see all the smiling faces again. So thanks everyone again. You have a great day.
Thanks.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.